Hi guys, Hannah here. Welcome to my video and to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to go through and do a tier ranking of all the books I read in 2025. I love watching these and I feel like they're a really good way to get recommendations to add to your 2026 TBR and also just for you guys to get to know my reading taste. I'm a little baby YouTuber on here and I feel like we can get to know each other a little bit better. So you should be finding out a fair amount about my taste today. I've created a little tier ranking list and the categories that I've got aren't necessarily based on star ratings. It's gonna go based on vibes, how I remember them, how I feel about them now. But before we get into it, I thought it would be cute to go through my 2025 Goodreads year in books, just so we can have a bit of an overall recap before we get started. This year I read 41 books and almost 6,000 pages. I've actually probably hit 6,000 pages. I'm halfway through reading Brimstone right now, which is a thick book. So as I'm filming, it's the 28th of December, so I'm not sure if I'll finish Brimstone by the end of this year, but this is all accurate to where we are right now. The shortest book I read this year was Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret, and the longest book was Iron Flame, which, did I actually finish that this year? I thought I did that last year. I actually think I read that last year, didn't I? I'm confused. My average book length was 389 pages. The most shelved book I read was Iron Flame. The least shelved was But My Speech Is Fine, which is like a non-fiction speech pathology book. My average rating was 3.9 stars. Okay, and that's kind of it on the Goodreads review. So let's get into our tier list. So for my categories, as I said, I've not just done it based on star rating because I don't remember what I rated each of these books. So I've just done it purely based on vibes. The top category is absolute perfection. No notes. This would be like equivalent to a 6-star god tier read. I probably think about this book all the time. I would recommend this book in a heartbeat. Perfection. Then under that, I've got loved this, which is like had a really great time. Not quite that top tier feeling, but would absolutely recommend. Under that is She's Cute, which is a book that like I had a good time. Like she was fine, but I don't have like particularly strong feelings about. Then I don't really remember reading this. These are gonna be books that I look at and I go, I can't remember a single plot point that happened. Or if I can only remember one plot point or one theme. Like it is unfortunate how many books I feel like are gonna end up in this category. Then I'd Like My Time Back, Please. These are books that I would not recommend, books I did not enjoy. If I could have taken that time back and given that time to another book, I would have. And lucky last, the DNFs. I am really proud of myself. I DNF'd a few books this year. I think last year I didn't DNF any books. If you don't know, DNF stands for Did Not Finish. And it's something that I've gotten a little bit better at this year, thank God, because we should not be wasting our time on books that aren't making us excited to read. If I DNF'd a book, it was because I was dreading picking it up. So there are probably even going to be a few books on this list that I should have DNF'd, but I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it over time. So let's start, shall we? I've organized all of these books in order of like chronologically how I read them. So the first book of the year was One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This, oh my God, absolute perfection. No notes. It goes right up the top. I started this year so strong. I'm actually gonna put both of the Shepherd King duology books up there. I loved this series so much. One Dark Window, actually, maybe I should move One Dark Window into Love This, because I remember starting the book and feeling like it took me a really long time to get into it. It was a little slow, but then once it picked up, it just drew me in and I finished, oh my God, I love this book so much. I finished the book and like the ending was so crazy. I immediately went and bought the second book because I just had to get myself back in that world. And then the second book, it goes from like single POV to dual POV, which was a little bit of a tricky, I don't love dual POV, but once I got used to it, it really worked. I just love the series so much and I really want to put One Dark Window in absolute perfection, no notes, but I know that it took me a while to get into it. So I'm gonna put it in Loved This, and you just know that I wanna bump it up. I wanna bump it right up to the top. Next, we've got Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I unfortunately am gonna have to put this in. I don't really remember reading this. I know that it's about a florist and a bodyguard. And I seem to remember there being a few moments that I read and I was like, oh, this is really healing to my like little insecure things in my heart and my soul. But I don't remember what those things were. I don't remember anything about this book, unfortunately. I think it's just a cute little fluffy rom-com, and I tend to not remember much about those. Then, this. Guys, I started this year so strong, from the Shepherd King duology to Once Upon a Broken Heart. If you know anything about me, you know this trilogy is my Roman empire. I love this trilogy so much. I cannot wait to do a reread. I am putting the whole thing up in absolute perfection, no notes. They're all incredible. If I had to choose a favorite, it would be Ballad of Never After. They are just the perfect, whimsical, like fairy tale fantasy vibe. I love it so much. And I didn't like Jax when I read Caraval, but after this, boy. So if I could recommend any book to anyone ever, it would be that series. Next, we've got Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I was really excited to read this book because I'd heard so many people absolutely rave about Elsie Silver. Unfortunately, I did not enjoy this book. I wish I DNF'd this book. Something I found out while I was reading this book is that I may not be the target audience for a billionaire romance or like single parenthood. Parenthood in general has always been a bit of a vibe kill for me in reading. I don't know if it's just because I've spent a lot of time working in children's entertainment, but I personally don't think that a child enhances romance. I think it distracts from the relationship. I also got really frustrated by the like unnecessary lavish showings of wealth that I just, as someone who is in a bit of a tight financial situation right now, it was really frustrating to me to read about distribution of wealth that just, yeah, it really grinds my gears. So I haven't read any Elsie Silver since. I don't know if I'll ever read any Elsie Silver again. I don't know if she's just not for me or if it was the particular tropes in this book that was not for me, but I should have DNF'd this because I really didn't enjoy it the whole way through. So then we've got Iron Flame, which, looking at the order of these books, yes, okay, I did read this at the start of this year. I thought I read it last year, but this is a book that, actually, no, I technically did read this last year. Iron Flame took me about a year to read because it got so long and so boring in the middle. Nothing was happening. And the same thing happened in Onyx Storm. This, I hate to say it, no, I'm gonna move it into, I don't really remember reading this because I don't remember reading most of the book because it took so long to read it. The last 100 pages went crazy. The last 100 pages were great, which is the only reason I'm not gonna put it in I'd Like My Time Back, please, because the rest of the book, the first however many 100 pages, I would like my time back from that. But the last 100 pages were really good. So I'm gonna bump it up a little bit to, I don't really remember reading this. I'm probably gonna get hate for that. I know a lot of people love this series, a lot of people love this book, but I also know I'm not the only person who feels this way. This is also one that I might have a controversial opinion on. Circe by, is it Madeline Miller? This I should have DNF'd. This I didn't enjoy. I was really excited to read this because I'd heard great things about Song of Achilles. This is actually a book club book, so I think that's the only reason I did finish it was because I wanted to have something to talk about in book club. And it's one of those books that I was reading, and you know when you're reading a book and you can tell that it's a good book and like it's a well thought out book and it's a sophisticated book, but you just don't really like it. Yeah, that was my feelings with Circe. Powerless is gonna go in Loved This. I know there's a lot of controversy with Lauren Roberts like plagiarizing or like using the same ideas as another book series and just kind of repackaging it. I haven't read the book series that people are talking about, so this was fresh for me, and I really loved it. I loved the concept, I loved the tension. I'm a sucker for trials, what can I say? And then I went straight on to Reckless. Reckless, I'm gonna put in She's Cute. Reckless, unfortunately, just kind of fell into the trap that many sequels do, where it it 100% felt like a filler for me. Like nothing really happened. There was a lot of, I hate like, okay, there was this like relationship that had been like brewing, and then suddenly it was like almost miscommunication, not quite miscommunication, but yeah, people like hiding their feelings from it. I don't know. It left a kind of sour taste in my mouth after how great and well thought out Powerless was. Reckless it just couldn't match up. But I mean, it was cute. She was fine. Then we've got Powerful. I think this is also gonna go in She's Cute. I really wish I had thought or like realized that I could do a tandem read between Powerless and Powerful. Powerful is a novella that happens like at the same time as Powerless. And I think the events of both books would have hit so much harder if I had done a tandem read. But I did read Powerful after I'd finished Powerless, I'd finished Reckless, and then I went to Powerful because I think that was the publishing order. It was a bit of a shame that I was reading Powerful and I already knew how it was going to end, so it just didn't hit as hard. But it was really helpful when I then went to read Fearless, because it did tie in some things there. So still worth it if you are reading Powerless. I would definitely recommend reading it, but do a tandem read, because that's going to hit so much harder for you. Then we've got Onyx Storm. I think I spent a month or two reading it, and then I did DNF this one. It fell into the same trap that Iron Flame did, where I could tell it was leading up to something. I'm sure the last 100 pages of this book are chaotic and so much happens, but the rest of the book is just filler. It's just going on little like side quests and doing fetch quests, and I'm not interested. That's kind of boring. From what I've heard, the Imperium series, is that what it's called? Imperium? From what I've heard, this series was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and then Fourth Wing sold really well, so then they turned it into like 5 books. But it didn't need to be that long. I think it would have been really good if it was a trilogy, but yeah, it's getting really frustrating that it's just like it's really boring, and then a smut scene, and then boring, and then a smut scene, and then a battle scene at the end of the book that's really good. Like, that's what Iron Flame was. I feel like that's what Onyx Storm was. I ended up getting like, I think I got over 200 pages in, and I just couldn't keep going. It was painful. It was painful, and I'm so sorry. I know so many people love this, and if you love this series and you loved Onyx Storm, I'm so happy for you, but not for me. Then I read When Haru Was Here. Do I put this in She's Cute, or I don't really remember reading this? I'm gonna put this in I don't really remember reading this. There are a few things that I remember. The concept overall is that this boy, I don't remember his name, has like a ghost friend that he like, does he fall in love with? I read this for book club and I was really excited to read it. The cover art is beautiful. But I think I just got really frustrated by the main character. I think there's a certain level of like, it's interesting to read the perspective of flawed people. Like when I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that was interesting to read from that perspective because Snow is so like messed up in the head, but it was kind of painful, but it was entertaining. Whereas this was painful and just painful, not entertaining. There was a scene with a jacket, I think. I barely remember anything. So unfortunately, that's going to go in. I don't really remember reading this. Then we've got our one non-fiction book on this whole list. We've got But My Speech Is Fine. It's not like an educational book. It's just like a bunch of different speech pathologists telling their stories. And it was cute. It was fine. Then I read The Girl in Question, which is the sequel to The Girls I've Been, which I read last year for book club. I'm going to put this in She's Cute. The Girls I've Been was a really, really great book, and I think I had really high expectations for the sequel. It just didn't hit as hard, and I think I also left too long between reading the two books, so I didn't have the connection to the characters that really would have made this book hit. Then Sunrise on the Reaping, this book, oh my god, I loved this book so much. I sobbed like a baby. If this is exactly how you do a prequel, ladies and gentlemen. It was so good. It just hooked me the whole time. Oh, I loved it. I absolutely binged it. Then we've got The Rebel Witch, which is the second book in the Crimson Moth series. I unfortunately don't really remember reading this, which is a bit of a shame because I remember really loving Crimson Moth. I don't remember a single thing about this book. nor do I really, in retrospect, remember anything about Crimson Moth. So then we've got Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I'm gonna put this in She's Cute. This is about like two souls that keep getting reincarnated, and then one of them will always kill the other before they'll like kill each other before their 18th birthday. The concept is really cool. I loved the lore of it all. I think like we visited a bunch of different times in history. I thought that was really cool. It just didn't really hook me that much. I think the concept was cooler than the execution. Then we've got First Time Caller. I loved this. This is a random little exception to my parenthood dislike. I really liked it in this. I think because the child was like a teenager, a little bit older, and was really rooting for the relationship. This was such a good, and I read a few B.K. Borison books this year. This was my first B.K. Borison book, and I think that she's just really good at writing for the insecure girlies. Like, she gets it. She gets it. I don't know how else I can explain it, but every time I read a B.K. Borison book, it just feels like a part of me gets healed, you know? Then we've got Malibu Rising. I'm gonna put this in She's Cute. Taylor Jenkins Reid is really good at the like historical fiction. I just think that the like general fiction, historical fiction, that kind of thing is not really my genre. It didn't really hit that much for me, but the characters were really interesting and multi-layered and flawed, and watching the pieces, the puzzle all come together, because you get dual timelines and then you get to see how those kind of like come up into one consistent timeline. It was, oh, my memory card is running out of room. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're back. What was I talking about? Malibu Rising. It felt a little bit like watching a car crash in that you can't look away, but also like it's not fun, but it's fascinating. Then Heavenly Bodies. This goes in absolute perfection, no notes. Unfortunately, it also kind of goes in, I don't really remember reading this. I know that when I read this, it actually like got me out of a reading slump. I hadn't read in a really long time. And I think it's because I was trying to read a bunch of books that were like kind of outside of my favorite genres. Like I was still trying to read all these other things. And I finally settled into my like romantasy vibe, because that's my favorite, like fantasy, romance, romantasy, that's my favorite genre. And so I settled a little bit more into that for the rest of this year. And Heavenly Bodies, yeah, Heavenly Bodies, I absolutely loved. The second book has come out now, and I'm so excited to read it, but also I kind of want to wait for the third book to come out so that then I can stop forgetting what happens in between the books. I don't know, but I absolutely loved this book. I would recommend it to anyone. Then we had Lightlark. I wish I DNF'd this book. I was so excited to read this book. I'd heard so many people talk so fabulously about it. I do worry that that might have been because of like influencer marketing. I do think well, I mean, some people might genuinely like this book. It didn't really hook me. I should have DNF'd it. It wasn't for me. I do think it's been overhyped online, which is a shame because I was so excited to read it. Then we've got Great Big Beautiful Life. This one was cute. I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of things in She's Cute. I really liked this. This also had kind of a bit of a dual timeline like Malibu Rising did, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't give me any particular feelings. I thought they were cool concepts, but I don't have big opinions on it, so. Then we've got Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This I'm gonna put in Loved This. I'm actually gonna put the whole series there because I read these all back to back really quickly. Well, not really quickly, but without a lot of time in between them. So I don't actually remember what happened in each individual book. It all kind of blurs together for me. So I couldn't separate these and rank them separately if I tried. I really couldn't. I have a feeling that the original book, the Encyclopedia of Fairies, sits slightly higher than the rest of them, but that's just a hunch. I couldn't say for real. I loved how like whimsical this book felt. It wasn't that everything felt low stakes, because there were definitely some like super high stakes moments, but people often describe this as a cozy fantasy. And I think that's absolutely correct. There was romance in it, but it wasn't everything. Like, because of how academically minded the main character was, the romance was not the first thing on her mind. She had all these other things that she wanted to like research and discover and all that, and that took precedence, which I thought was really cool, that there was romance there, but it was so like second storyline. Then we've got Fragile Sanctuary. This I loved. Oh, do I put it in absolute perfection? See, I don't think about it all. Actually, no, I do think about it quite often. It didn't leave me with like 5 or 6 star feelings once I finished it. So that's the only thing that's stopping me from putting it in absolute perfection, no notes. But I really, really loved this. It was like, this is my first Catherine Cowles book, and I'm very excited to read some more. She blends contemporary romance with suspense. So there was a bit of like mystery and thriller going on here, which I really loved. I think that because I mentioned like fantasy is my favorite genre, and that sometimes contemporary romance is kind of like boring, or like I forget everything, it doesn't really hit very hard with me very often. But I think because this was kind of like a contemporary romance with a little something extra to add some spice, it really worked for me. And I'll definitely be reading the rest of her I was about to say discography, that's not. Then we've got Night and the Moth. This goes right up in absolute perfection. This, I was so excited to read this after reading the Shepherd King duology, and it's so good. Rachel Gillick has just absolutely nailed gothic fantasy. The concept, I felt really smart because I guessed a plot twist at the end, and I felt so smart that I guessed it, but it wasn't that it was like predictable. I didn't feel like it was predictable at all. I'm really excited for the second one. Then we've got Fearless. Fearless is gonna go into, what actually happened in Fearless? Fearless, I think I'm gonna put in, she's cute. Oh, although it was better than Reckless. I think I expected a little bit more from the finale. It definitely felt like it had some unnecessary side quests that, like, yes, it all tied into the story, but we spent some extra time on things that, if the story just felt a little unbalanced, that focus was put on things that the focus should have been put on other things instead, in my opinion. And then the end just felt very left of field for me. Yeah, I didn't love the ending. Was it interesting? Yes. Then we've got Where the Dark Stands Still. This I really enjoyed. This was like a folklore kind of fantasy romance, romantasy. I actually don't know the difference between fantasy romance and romantasy, so if you would like to educate me in the comments, please let me know. I'm gonna put this in Loved This. I think we could have gotten a little bit more out of the ending, but overall, this, with slightly different execution, could have been absolute perfection. It was so close. I loved the concept. I thought the characters were really interesting. We had the like great side characters, cozy side characters. It very much gave Beauty and the Beast, but a little bit more folklore-y. Then I had Love Light Farms. This was my first Christmas book of the year. And I don't really remember much about her. I was really excited to read this because I had loved First Time Caller. And there were some great moments. I think that I'll really enjoy other books in this series. I think the like community and kind of like found family-ish kind of vibe was really, really nice. Then we've got The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop. This is, I think it's a novella. It was a really short book. I'm actually surprised this didn't come up as my shortest book on Goodreads, but it was originally written in Japanese, translated to English. I'm gonna put this in She's Cute. I think she's halfway between She's Cute and Loved This. It hit me really hard. I did cry. Really, really beautiful, very thought-provoking. But I probably wouldn't read it again, so I'm just gonna put her in She's Cute. Holiday Ever After. I loved this book so much. You know what? I'm gonna put it in Loved This. It was so close to being absolute perfection. I loved the found family. I loved the small town. I loved the dynamic between the two main characters. I actually listened to a bit of this as an audiobook. I haven't liked audiobooks that much in the past, but this one I liked. And it got me back into listening to audiobooks a little bit. So I think maybe I'll read this one again next year for Christmas. I don't know. We'll see what Christmas books come out next year, but I really, really liked this one. Then we've got Fearful. This I'm gonna put in She's Cute. I did actually enjoy it more than I enjoyed Fearless, and I think I would have really enjoyed if I had done a tandem read with Fearless and Fearful. Again, I think the same with Powerful. I think Lauren Roberts' novellas just work so much better when you do them as a tandem read. I assume, not that I've done one of those before. I really liked getting to see a little bit more of some side characters that we hadn't seen much of previously. Then we've got Archer's Voice. This was actually a reread for me. And first time I read this book, I absolutely loved it. I thought about it all the time. It unfortunately was tainted by the parenthood trope at the end. First time I read this, I absolutely loved it. I thought about it all the time. It was an incredibly healing book for me. This time, unfortunately, it didn't hit, and I don't know if it's just because I knew what was coming up. This was my first time doing a reread of anything for a really long time. I do think first time I read this book, it was a case of the right book at the right time. I think in life, there are definitely times that it is the right and wrong time to do things, whether it is to like make a particular change in your life, like a big change, or if it's just reading a particular book, there are definitely right and wrong times to do things. I think the first time I read this book, it was just the right time to read this book, so it hit really hard. This time, it just didn't do anything for me. I think that might also have something to do with the fact that I've now kind of moved away from contemporary romance a little bit. So yeah, it just didn't really do anything for me. I am going to put this in I'd like my time back, please, with the caveat of I would like my time back of doing the reread, because I don't think I benefited from rereading this book, okay? But if I would be taking my thoughts of Archer's Voice all together and like considering how I felt about it the first time I read it, I'd probably be putting it up in loved this. But just talking about how I felt about the reread, I'm gonna put it down there. That feels really mean to do because I did really enjoy it the first time I read it. Next we've got Quicksilver by Callie Hart, up in absolute perfection, no notes. I love the lore. I love the dynamic, the characters. This was an audiobook that I listened to. I read a bit of the physical book, I listened to audiobook. I did a bit of both at the same time, so I'm like immersive reading. I loved this audiobook. I think the voice actors were really great, the format of it all. I absolutely loved it. So if you're looking for an audiobook, this is one I can recommend. I also don't think I'll ever be over Carrion Swift. I'm loving how much of him there is in Brimstone. Oh God, he's so funny. I love him so much. Then we've got Magnolia Parks. Again, there's so many books on here that I was really excited to read because I'd heard so many people talk really highly of them. This is one I DNF'd. I just don't understand why so many people are excited to read a book about two people who are super toxic to each other, both horrible in this scenario, both not good people, and they're just hurting each other, and then they decide, oh, I don't want to hurt you anymore, and then they go and they hurt each other again, and then it's just the same thing over and over. Like for the whole book, it's just these two people going, I don't want to hurt you, and then hurting you, and then like, I don't understand why that's so interesting to some people, because it was just frustrating for me and I had to stop reading. It was not for me. This is kind of, I don't know if this even really counts as a book that I read this year, but we've got the Kingfisher POV chapters after Quicksilver. I'm gonna put these in She's Cute. I actually think given how short these are, it would be really hard to have any large opinions on this. Like, maybe if it was a full book, it would be in Loved This, but I thought they were really good chapters, but it was just so short that I don't have massive feelings on them. Then we've got Good Spirits by BK Borison. My girl, BK Borison. I'm gonna put this in Loved This. It was really close to being absolute perfection, but the ending, like it felt a little bit rushed at the end. The justifications for some things felt a little weak, a little loose. I didn't quite understand why some things happened. It was such a good time, and I'm so excited to read the next book in this series. This was a contemporary romance, but it had a little bit of like paranormal elements to it because the male main character is a ghost, the ghost of Christmas Past. I think I should probably delve more into paranormal romance because that was really fun. I really, really liked that. And lucky last on the list, we've got Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret. I'm gonna put this in She's Cute. She's Cute. I really enjoyed how like fun and snarky the narrator was. Also, it's set in Australia. We don't get many books set in Australia, or maybe I just don't read many books set here. So Christmas in Australia is very different to Christmas everywhere else. So that was really refreshing. I actually think that this could have been higher if I was more of a mystery reader, but because it didn't have any elements of romance, I think that's part of why it just landed and she's cute. Like, I don't have really strong feelings on it. I think it was fun. I wouldn't reread it. Okay, and those are all of my books that I read this year. Let's do a quick little recap. In Absolute Perfection, no notes, we've got Two Twisted Crowns, the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, Sunrise on the Reaping, Heavenly Bodies, Night and the Moth, and Quicksilver. In Loved This, we've got One Dark Window, Powerless, First Time Caller, the Emily Wilde series, Fragile Sanctuary, Where the Dark Stands Still, Holiday Ever After, and Good Spirits. In She's Cute, we've got Reckless, Powerful, But My Speech is Fine, The Girl in Question, Our Infinite Fates, Malibu Rising, Great Big Beautiful Life, Fearless, Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop, Fearful, Quicksilver POV chapters, and Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret. In I Don't Really Remember Reading This, I have Practice Makes Perfect, Iron Flame, When Haru Was Here, The Rebel Witch, and Love Light Farms. In I'd Like My Time Back Please, I have Wild Love, Circe, Light Luck, and Archer's Voice. And the two books I DNF'd this year are Onyx Storm and Magnolia Parks. I'm pretty happy with what we did this year. I think we read a lot of really, really solid books. I've definitely found a lot more of my style. I found what works for me a little bit more, what kind of books I want to read more of in the future. So I'm really excited to discover what I'm going to read in 2026. Now, before we go anywhere, I need to show you the books that I got for Christmas because they're going to be on my 2026 TBR, obviously. We'll just go speed round through it. We've got the Book of Azrael, Till Summer Do Us Part. How beautiful is that cover? And then I got two special editions. I got One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. So I got the Shepherd King duology. They are both so beautiful. Look at the edges there. Aren't they stunning? Oh, wait, I didn't even realize that the branches line up. Look at that. Oh, wow. And then lucky last, we got Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. How stunning. I am so excited to read all of these books. I think heading into 2026, I'm gonna put my Goodreads goal a little bit lower. I set my goal as 40 books this year, which I achieved, but it was a bit of a stretch towards the end of the year to get to my Goodreads goal. So I think I'm gonna set my goal as 30 books for next year, just because I'm going into full-time uni next year, and it's gonna be pretty intense, and I don't know how much time I'm gonna have for reading. So hopefully, now that I know more what my style is, that'll motivate me to read more, even if it's just a little bit at night, and I should be able to get through books fairly easily. Or yeah, I don't really know what the situation is going to be because I think I'm going to be a really, really busy girl. So yeah, I'd love to know what your plans are for 2026. What's your reading goal? Or if you could comment down below what your Absolute Perfection, no notes category books were this year. I'd love to know. I'd love to see. I might use them as some inspo for my 2026 TBR. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I'm wishing you a very, very happy, healthy, festive season. I hope you've enjoyed this video and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.